Welcome to the Super Six podcast. We are live. We've got plenty to discuss tonight, especially the big news that Jurgen Klopp will be leaving Liverpool at the end of the season. Cast your minds back to 2015 when a certain someone took the reins at Liverpool on his unveiling as new Liverpool manager. He says, does anyone in the room think I can do wonders? I'm a normal guy from the Black Forest and my mother's very proud of me. I'm a normal one. He ended a 30-year wait for the coveted Premier League trophy. Well, the big trophy. He not only delivered a triumph, but he also brought the illustrious Champions League back to the streets of Merseyside. A region well-versed in footballing triumphs, adding the League Cup, the FA Cup to their cabinet. We can talk about the Super Cup, the Club World Cup, the Charity Shield, but a trophy is a trophy. The only trophy that has eluded Klopp is the Europa League and something that he could still win this season. Under his watchful eye, the Premier League he has risen legends, the likes of Sadio Mane, Salah, Firmino, Van Dijk and Alisson. But it doesn't end there. Klopp has also unearthed gems and shaped talent such as Trent Alexander-Arnold and Robertson. With the promise of Gravenberch, Szoboszlai, Jones and Elliott potentially joining those ranks. However, Klopp is not merely a manager, he's a character as well, etching his name into the history books, not just for his trophies, but his undeniable mark he's left on the game. When he announced he was leaving, he said, "We are Liverpool, we went through harder things together, and we went through things harder, and you went through harder things before me. Let's make a strength of it. We would be really cool just to squeeze everything out of this last season. Another thing to smile back when we look back on this in the future." Has he left Liverpool in a better shape than he found them? In the words of Jurgen Klopp, I would say for sure. All right, Steve, Garth, and Kevin. Banter aside, Jurgen Klopp has to go down as one of the greatest managers, not just the Premier League has seen, but the world has seen. Start with you, Steve. Steve can spy.
Oh, that was a hot bomb there. That was. You said everything you said there's true, obviously, and it was very well put. One of the greatest managers the Premier League's ever seen. I don't know. There's no doubt about that we're going to miss him. There's no doubt about the character. There's no doubt about what he done to Liverpool when he comes to Liverpool. They was in transition. They'd had a few managers beforehand who never really did anything with them. Benitez was one. There was a couple of others, I think, and he'd come in and he turned them round, and he's put them up there with. He's had a few dodgy seasons along the way, but and it took him a little bit of time to get going at the beginning. But overall, he's brought Liverpool now, and up to he won the Champions League with them. He's won a Premier League. I know he's only won one, but in this day and age, it's not easy to win a Premier League, especially when you got this mob down here in my bottom left around. So I don't think we should be too. But a lot of people, I've seen a lot of people sort of scoff at it that he's only won one, but I think he should be applauded for that. And am I glad he's gone? No, not really. He's not won whether he's gone or one way or the other. I think it's sad for the Premier League. I think he will be immensely missed. Good luck to whatever he does. I think it was a very strange time to come out with it. I don't know regards to their season how this is going to affect them. I mean, Liverpool fans seem to think that it's going to galvanise them. We'll see about that. We'll see about what that will happen. But like we were saying before we come on the show, in the old green room there, we think maybe it was going to come out anyway, and he had to say it, because I find it a very strange time to bring out when you're going halfway through a season and you're in all four competitions and you hit your fans with this. But we'll see. A great manager, top bloke. Enjoy listening to him, and he'd be missed.
All right. Garth, Liverpool. Do you think it will galvanise them? How do you think it will affect their season?
Sorry, mate. Did you cut out there? Galvanise them.
Season, sorry.
I don't know. Honestly, it's one of them ones, mate. That really is only answerable at the end. I know, obviously, we've got to say, I don't think it will. I think it's going to really hurt Liverpool going forward. You know, that their gaffer's going to leave them. Obviously, we were discussing in the green room beforehand, like players are already coming out saying that they're going to decide at the end of the season about their contracts. That's not a good thing in the dressing room. So on and so forth. I mean, to touch on your point about greatest manager of the world, one of the greatest managers the world's ever seen, I don't agree with that at all. One of the best managers the Premier League said, yes, but he's so far behind what I class as the elite managers in the Premier League. Ferguson, Wenger, Mourinho, and Pep Guardiola. Like, he isn't in that category for me. He's the next one below. I think there's been a lot of hyperbolic stuff going around about him since he said he's going to retire. Is he a great character? Yeah, obviously I'm a Man United fan, so I hate him. His fist pumping in front of the fans, can't stand it. Cheddar cheese, mate. Get back in the bin, bro. I don't want to see that. But yeah, his legacy, I mean, listen, I know people say it's only one. I mean, it looks like Arteta's going to leave Arsenal without even winning one league title, going to Barcelona and do his bits over there. So, you know, I mean, it's very hard to win a league. I think Man City, to compare anyone, it's a bit like when Man United come up against Pep in the Champions League and with one of the greatest teams you've ever seen. Can you really say Man United failed? Not really. So when Liverpool are coming up against one of the greatest teams of all time, what can he do? He works on a bit of, listen, it's not like don't spend money, but he has to spend it wisely compared to the other clubs. A bit like Arsenal as well, that you have to spend it wisely. But the Chelsea's, Man United's and Man City's of this world can just spend willy-nilly. So listen, great manager, one of the best the Premier League's seen. I probably wouldn't have him in top 20 of all time in the world, though, personally.
Okay. Kevin, does this alleviate some pressure on Manchester City? Make it smooth sailing for the next 5 years? Clock size and extension? I mean,
listen, I don't think Pep. I don't think Pep is phased one way or the other. He's focused on the job that he needs to do. I don't think Klopp staying or going will have a massive impact on how City decide to head towards the end of the season. It may have an impact on Liverpool, of course. You know, it's who knows? It could be galvanising. It could be the opposite. In terms of Klopp, yeah, he's been a character, that's for sure. I'm a little bit surprised. I understand the Liverpool fans' reaction. They'll be disappointed because, you know, he's given them that one Premier League trophy that they were chasing. So that's not a negative. I mean, other managers had been there before and failed. Brendan Rodgers got very close, didn't he? Mm-hmm. So I understand Liverpool fans being very disappointed about it. But the rest of football in England, I'm not quite sure what this reaction is all about. You know, he's won 4 trophies. Somebody was on the radio yesterday. He's won 4 trophies out of the 32 he could possibly have won whilst he's been Liverpool. Really? Wow. It's not the best record in the world, is it? To be honest with you, does he leave his mark? Well, do Liverpool have a style of play that's been copied by other teams in the Premier League, in the Championship, Division 1, Division 2? I don't think they do. Is he one of the greatest managers ever in the Premier League? Well, I think Fergie, Pep, Mourinho, Wenger, just off the top of my head, will have a little bit to say about that. He's one of those managers who's won 1 Premier League, which includes, obviously, his Klopp, Mancini, Pellegrini, Ranieri, Dalglish. I think Blackburn were in the Premier League, weren't they? So, you know, I'm not meaning to make it sound negative, because I do understand how the Liverpool fans feel about him. But away from Anfield, not quite sure I quite get it. You know, 4 trophies in 8 seasons. Who knows what this season is going to bring? It probably is about time for a change, isn't it? To be honest with you, you know, there are players on the edge of that squad who are looking to renew. They themselves are probably. Maybe it's partly to do because some of those players are saying to Klopp, "What are you doing? I might sign if you sign." And maybe Klopp has come out and said, "Well, actually, you know what? I need a bit of a fresh challenge myself." And it's very difficult to persuade players to sign a new contract if at the back of your own mind you're actually saying, well, I'm moving on, I'm going to go for a fresh challenge, but I want you to stay here for this challenge. So will it galvanise them? Hopefully not. Does it have an impact on City? I don't think so. Listen, I think we talked last week, City are sort of starting to bubble a little bit. They've won 7 games on the run, conceded 2 goals, scored 21. What happens over at Anfield won't have an impact on City. I think we're in control of our own destiny, good or bad.
All right. Steve, do you see a mass exodus, the likes of Van Dijk potentially leaving? Do you see Salah? Do you see some of the bigger names leaving Liverpool over the next season or two?
Well, I mean, it is strange how all 3 of them haven't signed a new contract. Like Kevin said, generally at the start of a season, what clubs do when they go on their pre-season tours is they all chat, they all talk, and they talk about contracts while they're having dinner and who's going to sign what and when. And this is generally when clubs get their deals done, or set in place, similar to what Arsenal did with Saka and Martinelli and William Saliba and Ramsdale and so on and so forth. And yeah, so it sounds like they've had that conversation at when they was on tour in Singapore, and if I was a Liverpool fan, I'd be worried. I'd be worried that Trent hasn't signed his contract. I'd be worried that Salah hasn't signed his, and I'd be worried that Van Dijk hasn't signed it. Salah signed his, and it doesn't make it even better. It gives them an even more reason to worry. I mean, Virgil van Dijk come out and said this morning by saying that he wasn't sure whether he was going to sign a new contract or whether we would be at the club at, going into next season, which. Again, if you Klopp's leaving and Van Dijk's possibly thinking of leaving, we know Salah's thinking of leaving. Trent, I mean, some will say that would be the biggest kick in the teeth of all. Yeah, look, for me, if I'm a Liverpool fan, this ain't a great week for the club. I think they're trying to spin it a bit by saying we're in 4 trophies and we're going to galvanise people, but. For me, as an Arsenal fan, this certainly gives me a little bit more hope, and gives me a little bit more chest when I come on this show, especially to big up my team and give me that little bit more emphasis, so that we might be able to, be that team that does challenge City rather than Liverpool. But I mean, I would worry, and yeah, look, there is a chance that all 3 of them could move on. And as I said, like even more of a chance now when you think of what's happened in the last couple of days, with Klopp saying that he's leaving at the end of the season and Virgil van Dijk not knowing if his future is going to be at Liverpool or not. So yeah, if I'm a Liverpool fan, I would be worried. Yeah.
Garth, do you see a little bit of an exodus happening?
Yeah. Oh, do you know what? I thought the way everyone was talking, I was under the impression that Van Dijk's contract was up at the end of the season. But it's not. It's until 2025. He's 32, coming on 33 right now, which means that at the end of his contract, he's going to be like 33, coming on 34. He's probably just thinking, I want like Saudi money. Like, this is my last big move. I'm not getting that sort of money at Liverpool. This is what I was talking about Liverpool. No matter what they spend, people talk about like, oh, it's net spend. Like, it does exist because they have to work with inside a constrained budget, and that includes the wages and stuff. So these players like Salah, 31, 32. Virgil van Dijk, 32, 33. They're probably thinking to themselves, this is going to be my chance to move on and actually get that 550, 600, 700 grand a week contract. If they're giving Hendo 700 grand a week, how much are they going to give Van Dijk? He's going to be in the millions a week. He's going to be in like the Benzema money. So whether that is an exodus or not, I don't know. Listen, players come and go. It's 3 big players, Trent, Salah and Virgil van Dijk. But in my mind, 2 of those you've got to be replacing in the next 2 years anyway, in Salah and Van Dijk. Yeah. So they've got to be looking at that already. Yeah,
that's true, very true. Kevin, we've seen some reactions from Klopp in recent weeks and months where the simplest of questions, even jokes, have been taken the wrong way by Klopp. Do you think that this was playing on his mind and it's sort of snowballed in his head a little bit, and it's like the pressure of him having that in the back of his mind is sort of, he had to get it out? Do you think any of those reactions have played into this decision here?
Maybe, listen, if as Mystic Steve reported earlier, if Klopp has known he's been going since the start of the season, then maybe that's been playing on his mind, hasn't it? You know, maybe. Listen, I don't think he's the most patient of managers with the press. Anyhow, I think he does tend to snap a little bit already. Maybe he's just lost that patience with them. Listen, I can understand, you know. Listen to me, what I'm going to say. I can understand the frustration of him, you know, having been manager of Liverpool and done a very, very good job. And every time he looks up City at top of the league, I understand that frustration. He probably can't see where that's going to change. Maybe the law courts might change that. Who knows? But he probably looks up and thinks, when is this going to change? You know, City do not seem to want to give in. City don't want to, and I think, you know, the signings have made recently have been quite good at City. He probably just needs a rest. Listen, Pep needed a rest, didn't he? He was only at Barcelona for 3 years, and he needed a break for a year. And, you know, no surprise that Xavi has more or less said exactly the same sort of thing. It's Liverpool is certainly a more high pressure job than it is being manager of Manchester City. I don't mind admitting that. I think it's slightly different at City. Pep, the absolute foundations of that football club, as we are at the moment, have been built around Pep.
Yeah.
Absolutely 100%. Everything about that club is around Pep. You know, I don't believe this we have no history thing, but, you know, Klopp has a slightly different. Okay, he won that one Premier League, but now as soon as that was won, he's under pressure to win a second, isn't he? And then he's under pressure to win a third and another Champions League. Maybe he's just thought, I just can't do this anymore. And maybe his hands are tied financially as well. I think there's a lot of. Listen, I don't think it's just one thing. I think there's just a lot of things that have fallen into the pot. And Klopp has just thought, can't really do this anymore. I don't really think he believes that he can turn. And again, people will jump at me at this. I don't think he believes he can turn that current crop of Liverpool players into the winning machine that Manchester City are under Pep. They talk about this City-Liverpool era. It's not a City-Liverpool era. It's a City era that Liverpool have managed to win one Premier League in. I don't get this whole Liverpool City thing, you know, that particularly Sky Sports want to continue to put out there. They've won, you know, we've won 5 Premier Leagues during the period they've won 1. It's crazy. But that in itself is another part of the pressure that he's been under. And I saw an interview with him actually at Christmas, and I don't watch a lot of Klopp's interviews. Why would I? But it was an interesting one in that he was talking about. He was so looking forward to Christmas because his children were over and his first grandson was over, and he was really looking forward to spending so much time with his grandson. When I saw that interview, I sort of thought to myself, then I thought, this is quite interesting because he's talking, during that interview, he was talking quite a lot about life away from football.
Yeah.
And for somebody who's absolutely committed to Liverpool, as he is, it just struck me then a little bit as I thought, could I see a little bit of a chink there that maybe he's just had enough? You know, when you're a football manager, when you're a football player, we've seen this, haven't we? You miss your children growing up, you know, when we see and read about, you know, because managers are away all the time, aren't they? Sometimes they have to go to different countries to manage. And maybe Klopp's just decided if he did miss his children growing up, certainly he doesn't want to miss his grandchildren growing up. So a fair play to him. Listen, if he's under pressure up here and he's just decided it's time to go, it takes a lot of cojones to decide to do that, especially with a club as big as Liverpool.
Yeah, I agree. Steve, who for you takes over at Liverpool? Like, if they, in an ideal world, who would be the perfect appointment as manager for Liverpool?
Well, I think there's one name, isn't there, on the tip of everybody's lips at the moment, and that's it probably is Xavi Alonso, isn't it? from Bayer Leverkusen.
Let me just jump in there because I've seen that name going about, and then I've seen a couple of other names going about, and some of the other names that are going about are managers that have managed for a few years now. Whereas Xabi Alonso, this is what I think his second job, or if not his first job. I think he was managing at his second job. He's managing at a lower league club before. Is this not too early for Xabi Alonso? Have they seen the likes of what Man United have done, what Arsenal have done, and gone for a manager who's maybe at the start of their career?
Yeah, I mean, Alonso reminds me very much. I think he'd be a good appointment. Don't think he'd be a bad appointment. He's obviously, he's a Liverpool man. He's loved by the fans. If there is a problem with contracts and getting people to sign new contracts, maybe a word from Xabi Alonso, could help. So yeah, I mean, Liverpool generally have gone with people at the club in the past. I mean, it's only sort of recently they've come off that ladder a little bit. But I think Xabi Alonso would be a good appointment. He very much is in the. I'm not talking about levels here, but he's doing excellent at Bayer Leverkusen. I mean, they're flying there. They're doing well. They're doing the unexpected. Although he has got quite a strong team there. He's very much in the mould of, and also of course he knows the Premier League, but he very much reminds me of a Mikel Arteta. Very very similar. Similar of age, not much experience, but very tactical minded. Seems like he knows the game inside out. Everybody speaks well of him. Sort of, and maybe he's the one to come in and challenge. Pep and Arteta. They would have the three amigos, wouldn't we? Maybe fighting for the title in seasons to come. But look, he's not the only name. Leverkusen are saying, as far as I'm concerned, he's stayed. So, but all clubs say that. Don't listen to what clubs are the biggest liars on the planet. So never believe what you hear from them. But there's other managers.
Remember that when we're talking about Arteta. Remember what you just said there when we're talking about Arteta, Steve.
Arteta said it himself.
It's a bit different when the manager actually says it to people's faces. So, but yeah, I know what you're saying. But look, there's other managers there for me. I mean, obviously, De Zerbi may be a good choice for me. I mean, I was talking to who was it? I was talking today. I can't. Oh, actually, it was our friend Nathan, actually, and I think I mentioned little Unai Emery. Would possibly even be a good shout. An excellent manager doing unbelievable work at City. He obviously would be a long shot. But there's not many managers out there. I mean, they're obviously not going to go down the Mourinho, Conte road. I mean, I know they're out of jobs, but I think their time has probably passed regarding, the big clubs now. I've heard Ange Postecoglou mentioned, but I'll be absolutely amazed if Liverpool would want him. That's ridiculous. I don't think that would work whatsoever. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, if I could pick two, I think Alonso and De Zerbi would be the two top of my list. The pool of managers out there is small.
Very, very small. It is.
Yeah.
It's very small. There's not as many as there used to be. Goff, Steven Gerrard, Xabi Alonso, Roberto De Zerbi.
I'd take Steven Gerrard.
And Postecoglou.
No, listen. I mean, Steve's already said that. For me, if I was a Liverpool fan right now, looking at the list of people out there, I'd go through Unai Emery immediately. The stuff around Xabi Alonso is weird to me. Like you're saying, two teams. It's really one team because it was Real Sociedad B team that he was managing.
Yeah, I thought it was.
Yeah,
and before that, it was like Adidas Tango FC.
Yeah,
he's managing an Adidas team. Yeah,
I'm not saying he couldn't do the job, and yes, he's done well with Bayer Leverkusen this year, but it feels like a bit too soon for that. Plus, it's another one of the ones where it's like Liverpool fan, like Xabi Alonso to me isn't like this loving Liverpool bloke either. Like, you're only there for 4.5 years, and then stun him in to move to Real Madrid. Like,
Because they wanted Gareth
back to the
Barry.
club. Yeah, like it's weird. I'd go Unai Emery personally, possibly Nagelsmann if you can get him. Different matter entirely.
Yeah. Do you think that? Because I think we've had this conversation before. Do you think that Emery is the guy for Liverpool, or do you think that's a stopgap? Do you think
stopgap? You took the words out of my mouth. That's what they've got to go for now. Is I think you've got, when you lose someone like Klopp, obviously we've all had it as fans of our clubs losing a major manager like that. You've got to have a stopgap in there. It doesn't work. I've never seen it happen where another big name comes in and just does it straight away. So I'd take Emery and hope that he does well. Plus, I forgot to say this earlier, there's always the chance he does an Alex Ferguson, which is, remember Fergie said he was retiring in 2000, was it? 2001? And that it was done. He come out and said he was retiring. And then obviously 3 months later turned around and said, no, I'm not retiring, and stayed for another 12 years. So there is a possibility, and I'm sure Liverpool fans are desperate for that, because as Steve's already said, the wealth of elite managers out there is zero. I would take, honestly, if they were looking for I'd probably take a punt on Conte or Diego Simeone, like one of the big names, if they're thinking they want someone to come in and like steady the ship immediately, or Unai Emery for me. Yeah, that's where I'm going.
Boyce says, who's the Girona manager? Again, I think it's someone early doors. It's someone very young.
They're second, ain't they? They're second. They're doing really
Diego
well.
Simeone,
Marquinez or something. Marquez or something. I don't know.
Stephen Gerrard and Russ says, I think FSG aren't willing to back Klopp with money. Aren't they looking to sell?
I think Liverpool would burn down that. I mean, I know they love Stephen Gerrard, but I don't think they'd be too happy with bringing him in.
No, you can't be. The manager of Girona,
Mikel or something. Yeah, Mikel.
Yeah. I think I bought him champ.
I was thinking that
midfielder, score a goal, great passer of the ball, got creativity and abundance. Sorry.
Needed a cheap option. Needed a cheep option in the centre.
I got the free as well.
Send them 10 hard, Garth.
Oh, yeah, we'll get into that in a minute, obviously. But
we'll get into that in a minute. We'll just finish off quickly. Kevin.
Look, the strange thing is, here's Klopp deciding he's given up one of the top jobs in English football, if not world football, and there's not a massive list of people, who you think would jump straight into that job. And because, the better managers have probably gone elsewhere at the moment. Yeah. I would not discount the possibility that Postecoglou would leave Spurs to go to Liverpool. I would not discount, for two reasons. It's still definitely a step up from Spurs to Liverpool. And secondly, we all know that Levy is persuaded by the right amount of money.
Yeah, no, he is.
If somebody came in and offered Levy, so I do think Postecoglou must be in with a shout. If you look at the list,
do you think Liverpool would be looking at him, though, Kev? Sorry, mate. Do you think Liverpool would actually be looking at Postecoglou at the moment?
Yeah, I do. Why not? Why not? Because if you look at the list, I mean, you're right. I would be surprised if they went for Alonso. For me, you might as well go for Steven Gerrard if you're going for Alonso. I'll tell you why. Because at least, not particularly well, but at least Steven Gerrard has had some Premier League experience. At least Steven Gerrard knows how the Liverpool machine works. And Steven Gerrard would get more time with the Liverpool fans than Alonso would. So for me, if you're going to go for Alonso, you might as well go for Steve Gerrard, to be fair.
Frank Lampard?
I was just thinking that.
that's the name. When you mention Steve Gerrard, the first name that comes into mind, because he's made such an arse up of everywhere he's been.
Yeah.
it was just like Frank Lampard comes to me.
Yeah, well, no, listen. If we've been, De Zerbi's got to be in that running as well.
Yeah. I think so. He's
in the Premier League.
Yeah, and he's done well in Italy as well. He's
lost his best players, hasn't he? You know, and he keeps on doing it. Yeah. Nagelsmann is a possibility because Klopp's been in there and done it as a German manager. And I think they like that whole approach, the way that Klopp has approached Liverpool as a football club. So I wouldn't discount the possibility of Nagelsmann. But for me, I can't see beyond that. You know, Postecoglou, De Zerbi, Nagelsmann, and, you know, outside that group, probably Gerrard, I think.
I think I understand Liverpool's feeling with the Alonso one, but if Bayer Leverkusen were just having a standard season this season, pushing for top 4 and not pushing for that league, would they seriously be contemplating Xabi Alonso? No, and I don't think you can go off of this on the one season that he's had at Leverkusen so far. It's a big risk. I know the Arteta one was a big risk, but Arsenal were in a massive hole when Arteta took over. Liverpool in a completely different situation. They're going for the titles. They're going for Champions League. Arsenal were trying to get into Europe again, and it'll be interesting to see what they do.
I hope they pick an American from somewhere. That would be funny.
I think when you look at a good manager, experienced manager, knows the game, knows the Premier League, top manager. I think the more, like we've been speaking the last 10 minutes, I think it's got to be De Zerbi, isn't it?
De Zerbi.
I think he's the one. I think he's like the one that comes. He's got McAllister there, isn't he? You know, as well.
Yeah. The only thing I say with De Zerbi, is Brighton are so open. Like when Brighton are open, they're open, and that's his style of play. And on a good day, Liverpool, it'll be absolutely flying. They'll be well happy. But when Klopp first joined, it was like 4 rules, 4 twos. It was things like that. And that was the problem with Klopp, is this rock and roll football, they needed to shore it up with some solid defenders and a good goalkeeper.
Yeah. There's a little bit of a demand for that at Anfield, though, isn't it? They do like that sort of style of play at home. You've got to make it different away from home. But again, I think Postecoglou's more of a favourite than De Zerbi. I think they like him. I quite like him actually as well. There's something about him. I mean, I went to the game on Friday at Tottenham, and I did, no surprise, I didn't think it was a foul on the goalkeeper. I thought it was a goal. But what I did really love about Postecoglou's response was he said, well, the referee didn't think it was a foul. So then they sent it to VAR and they didn't think it was a foul. So chances are it wasn't a foul. I love that approach, that sort of get on with it,
Don't you think his tactics, though? He won't change his tactics, will he? He's very sort of like, I'm attacking, I'm nothing else, I'm doing it this way. I don't know.
There's a demand for that at Liverpool, though, and I think that's why they sort of like it. They'll give him money. They won't give him crazy money, but they will give him money to support the idea that he wants. I do think what they would want him to do is to use those tactics at Anfield, but not use those tactics away from home.
Yeah,
But there is something about him, I think, that has got a level head. I think he's taken to the Premier League very easily. I don't think he's got an ego, but he's very, very confident in his own ability.
He's been about.
Yeah, for me, listen, from my point of view, if it was Pep who'd said that he was leaving this week, and thank God it's not, for me, the 2 candidates I would be going for is Postecoglou or De Zerbi. Beyond that, there's nobody else for me.
Wow.
Well, I tell you what, this is the lack of wealth of elite managers out there. Because I think for me, De Zerbi's he's like a Bielsa. Like, he's a good manager for a mid-table team, but I don't see him ever being able to manage a top.
He's very clever though, Garth. If you see the way that he plays football, but I think he's just a bit old. He's very clever. Look at the way that Brighton play their football. What they don't have is the money to back him up from a squad point of view.
Is he cleverer than Potter? Because Potter was playing great football as well. And Potter,
I quite like Potter, to be honest with you. We had a conversation about Potter a few weeks ago. And not for Liverpool, not for City. But I tell you what, he should still be the Chelsea manager if he's seen some of the rubbish that they've put through there.
I'm quite upset. I mean, you wouldn't get him anyway, Kev, that you didn't put Arteta in that group of managers.
Don't like him.
But then again, it's one of them things.
What's Arteta done?
I wouldn't get upset if someone didn't want to take my missus off me. I don't want that. I don't want to get involved in that. I don't want to get upset about the fact that Arteta, people don't want Arteta. I don't care. He's doing all right with Arsenal.
We want winners, Steve.
Yeah,
he's doing all right with Arsenal.
Right. Well, I tell you what, he helped your manager out, Kev, didn't he? Pep Guardiola said, Pep Guardiola, if Mikel Arteta wasn't here, I couldn't have done it without him. So,
Pep Guardiola also said that Maguire's the best centre-back he's ever seen.
Your manager said it, mate. Quotes from your own manager.
Well, I said it's the Brighton recruitment team that needs coaching, not their manager. Potter has the same team, and they're losing the best players, but the production line is of quality players keeps on coming.
But
Yeah, Tony
actually,
Bloom's doing a very, very good job.
He's just made a very, very good point. We're talking here about replacing Klopp, but the whole team are going, aren't they?
Yeah.
That's a big problem that Man United had when Moyes took over.
They're not sending it. They're not looking for a new coach who's going to go in and find a backroom squad with all that experience of work.
Yeah, no, mate.
Big job.
I think you're not doing fair justice to Darwin Núñez, mate. I think he could actually turn them out.
Listen, if he can start scoring, he will be one. Like, I know it sounds silly, but if he can finally get some shooting boots on properly, he's got everything to make him one of the best strikers in the world.
Dangerous.
Don't be stupid. I like him. There's something about him for me that he's not. There's 2 or 3 goals away from him being an absolutely fantastic striker. I like
the attributes. Yeah, same here. The attributes he's got is everything that makes.
I just
striker. Everything. Speed.
One of the main ones is his mentality. The fact that he can miss those sitters and keep on going. That's a big thing.
I'd worry if he was my mainstay though, centre left, and he's the guy that's going to go and take me forward. I don't think he's that.
Yeah, but Salah, who's replacing Salah? No one. No one.
To be fair, Steve, that's a bit harsh considering you've got Jesus as your main striker.
Mate, don't worry about it. Mate, I care about. I notice you always keep bringing up Arsenal, mate. You worried about something?
I don't worry about anything. It is what it is.
Well, you would have thought so, mate. Arteta, you keep bringing up there, Jesus. What's the matter?
They just...
mate.
You're not stressed about anything, Steve.
We can go. There's AA Arsenal Anonymous, mate. I can give you the phone number.
Try it, go on. Remember those days, mate? Yeah, distant memory, mate. It's getting further and further away.
2004, I remember them days, mate, not worrying about nothing. Everyone else squabble.
I tell you what, look, I've had this conversation with Kieran, right? This is just a little, just one word answers quickly. You talk about Darwin Núñez, right? Who would you rather have? Would you rather have Darwin Núñez up front, or would you have Olivier Giroud up front?
Oh, Núñez.
Right
now, in the modern game, like if you're talking about what they've done over the history, then maybe Giroud.
Never in a million years, mate. This is like
Olivier Giroud, by the way, was a very undervalued striker.
Great disrespect
by Arsenal fans. That's the craziest thing.
But now you've got to go for Núñez, absolutely. Now
in the modern game, always Núñez.
Yeah, I hear that.
But Giroud was very underrated.
Very good. Yeah,
I hear that.
Very underrated. All right. Let's get on to the big topic of today. Manchester United. Boss Eric Ten Hag.
So see you later.
Boss Eric Ten Hag says Marcus Rashford's absence from Sunday's FA Cup 4th round tie against Newport County is an internal matter. He reported ill. He said, "Let's say it's an internal matter. I'll deal with it. It's an internal matter." So he believes it so much. He said it twice. Garth, we're going to go straight to you. Internal matter, a different situation from the Jadon Sancho. Is he learned from that situation?
Yeah, I think so.
What's your thoughts? What's your thoughts on it now?
For a start, it's a very different situation to Jadon Sancho. I've seen a lot of people trying to compare the two. They're not comparable. Sancho had so many warnings. Like Rio Ferdinand said on his podcast, like, you don't know how many times Ten Hag had to talk to Sancho, sent him away for 3 months so he could get his mental health back on street. You know what I mean? Gave him everything, and then he come back and did that. Rashford's made a silly error. He's going to get his punishment. He was dropped from the team. He's been fined 2 weeks' wages. And what you hope from this situation going forward is that he improves, but it isn't just Rashford. It's indicative of the state of Man United as a club at the moment. The ill discipline in our players is absolutely shocking. Now, we still haven't had the full story on Rashford. From what I understand, from what it looks like, he was out clubbing on Thursday night into Friday morning. Should have been at training 9 o'clock. You know, I've had people tell me that we've all done it, pulled a sickie. Yeah, but when I pulled sickies, I wasn't photographed by 17 different press agencies in a club getting smashed up, mate. You know, I'm like, come on now. It's ridiculous. So,
well, actually,
horrific. No, you have you, mate?
I would have rocked up. I would have rocked up to training.
That's what I said.
Rocked up to training.
These are the things he's made the mistake on. It isn't so much he's out drinking the night before. Just turn up, hanging, and then take your punishment on the ground. But don't not turn up. And because these days you've got reporters hanging outside the training ground. They know who's there. They know who's not there. He's done the club dirty. He's done the manager dirty, and he's done fans like me who have been defending him to the hilt for about a year and a half dirty. And there's nothing else. Like, I've got no respect for what he's done here. There's no excuse for it, but it is very different to the Jadon Sancho situation. And I saw other people talk about Mason Greenwood. Obviously, doesn't even compare. So, like,
no, we get on. We'll come back to you in a second, Garth. Kevin, we've seen a lot of uproar from Man United fans. Do you think this because he's a local lad? Do you think that there's a bit of that where they're a bit more disappointed that he's got to understand? Do you think that plays into it?
Yeah, possibly. Listen, I think he got in trouble recently, didn't he, for going out after the derby when City beat them at Old Trafford, and he went out and he got in trouble for that. He's no kid anymore, by the way. People keep talking about Marcus Rashford as if he's 22 years old. You know, he's not anymore. He's a grown man. He's a professional footballer who has an obligation to Manchester United. His obligation. He can go out and party. In 10 years, whatever it is, he can go out and party every night, all night, whenever he wants, because he'll have done his bit. I think he's possibly, isn't he, the highest paid United player at Manchester United now? Not far from it with that contract he recently signed.
Yeah, he's the highest. Yeah, he's the highest.
And he knows two or three things. He knows that, like you just said there, Garth, there are people with mobile, even if it's not the media, there are people with mobile phones here, there, and everywhere taking photographs. Who's that? It's Marcus Rashford. Bloody hell, it's 2:00 in the morning. You know, how's he going to get to training in the morning? All that sort of thing. He knows Manchester United are under pressure at the moment for lots of different reasons, and he knows Ten Hag is under pressure. And maybe the only connection with this and Sancho is, maybe Rashford and Sancho were quite pally, and there's a little bit of respect within some of the players at Manchester United who might feel that Sancho has been forced out of Manchester United, and there's almost this lack of respect for Ten Hag. And the problem there is the manager can't win that one ultimately. The manager can't win it, because if the players within a very powerful group of footballers even if it starts to split one side pro Ten Hag and the other side anti Ten Hag, the manager can't win. It's impossible. Some players might be casualties, but I guarantee you, we saw it at City under Mancini when he won the FA Cup and he won the Premier League. Despite the fact he won the Premier League, and we were playing that week in an FA Cup final, which, not surprisingly, because everything was happening, we lost to Wigan. That it was horrible. The players ultimately just downed tools because of the way that Mancini was treating with the players. And as much as clubs, will always come out and say, we back the manager, you can't back one man against a squad of 25.
Yeah.
And
so who was it?
Rashford knows that a little bit, and maybe he's wrongly, maybe he's just playing that game a little bit as well. Because I guarantee, listen, he missed the game on Sunday. There is no way, even though the situation is different, there's no way that Ten Hag will get away with dealing with Marcus Rashford in a similar way that he dealt with Sancho.
Yeah, he wouldn't. It would rip the team apart, I think.
That comes down to an apology. That's the thing. Like, so if Rashford's come in and been, what's the word of, like, humble. Humble,
Yeah.
like said, I'm sorry, I made a mistake. Yeah, the Sancho thing, this is what I'm saying about the Sancho thing. He was given chance after chance after chance after chance. Then he come out and slammed the manager online in public. He was asked to retract it and make an apology, and he refused to do that in public. It's so very, very different. Like, there's no need to treat Rashford the same way as Sancho was treated, is the point I'm trying to make there.
But publicly, even though he might not think it, although he's not daft, Rashford has publicly disrespected the manager by going out, by not turning up, by
100%.
But
if he takes his punishment, what Sancho didn't. That's the thing. Yes, maybe what they both did was equal, But Sancho's reaction to it is the reason that he's in exile at Dortmund right now. Not
what's the punishment? Is he going to put him back in the team?
No, he's been fined 2 weeks' wages. He's obviously missed the game against Newport, and apparently, from what I mean, this is the problem with Man United. We need him. So how far can you go? And I've always said exactly what you said, Kev, which is, but buck stops with the gaffer. You can't sack 25 players. Like I've always said that. So it does. It's going to be another thing that hurts Ten Hag.
I think the what people will hold on to with regards to the different situations with regards to Sancho and Rashford is they will say he still could have just treated the Sancho situation and said it's the internal matter, we're dealing with it internally. Those few words would have been a complete different.
Words from Sancho, couldn't he? I suppose
he could have, and that's where I can say I can agree. All right, maybe he did do it because he got to the end of his tether and he felt that there was no other way that he could get anything out of him, but that didn't work. The plain and the long and short of it is that didn't work. Because that was the reaction of the player, was to come out and shut that statement down. So his reaction to try and get something out of him as the last hope did not work. And now that player now plays in Germany. You're going to get a pittance of what you paid for him, and you're probably still paying half his wages.
That is the biggest problem, isn't it?
And that's the problem.
Sancho will go. He's going to cost United £50 million, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Steve. We'll get on to Sancho, not Sancho, the Ten Hag as well now.
Can't have my word on Rashford.
Yeah, we will. This will have a massive impact on the manager.
Yeah.
So go on. Have your word on. This should have a massive impact on the manager.
Yeah.
How long do you think he's got left? Tie that in with the Rashford point that you want to make as well.
I'm not Ten Hag's biggest fan, but look, at the same time, I do feel sorry for him in a lot of aspects, because what's going on at Manchester United at the moment, I don't think any manager who's come in is probably going to have, the same problems as what Ten Hag's got. I don't think anything's going to change overnight. I don't think it's worth getting rid of him, but I think, overall, I think it's very possibly that, he possibly may go at the end of the season. But mainly for the reason that you said, you can't get rid of all the players. Ideally, you think, or some of the players, you would think that, there's we've seen this before over the seasons with managers at Manchester United. They've thrown their managers under the bus on a number of occasions, over the years. It's not going to do him. It's not going to do him no good. He's had so many things to deal with. The Sancho thing, I think he dealt with wrongly. I think he should have said, he should have kept quiet and then dealt same way as he's really done with Rashford. What he's doing now. Just say when the Sancho thing was going on, we'll deal with it. But he never. I think that's gone against him. And I don't know if coming out and changing his ways of doing things is doing him any favours. Because it doesn't look. It goes to sort of show a little bit that he's not the boss. It's like someone's telling him what to do. Look, I mean, for me, I think the way he's got to deal with, how I feel about Marcus Rashford. I know they're different things, but I do think that that they should both be dealt with in the same punishment, and I think it's time for him just to get him out, Rashford.
Okay,
but that's like Garth says, that's not something you can do overall. But if he's if Sancho's got that punishment for what he's done, this ain't the first time he's done it. He's done things like this before. His attitude on the pitch, let's face it, he stinks. I mentioned almost most Manchester United fans. They've called for him to be dropped on a number of occasions.
Mm-hmm. And
now he's being drunk in a bar, pulling sickies. He had the thing last time where he was after a Man City game. He was somewhere. This ain't this is a reoccurring thing with him. You know, we had it at Arsenal with Aubameyang. You know, he just got back late. That was it. Out. You know, a bit lippy, you're gone. Out. We don't want people like you in our dressing room. You know, top goal scorer, captain, doesn't matter. Get out. Arteta, come in. Be tough. Be strong. Get out of my club. I don't want you. Unless there's people behind the scenes at Man United saying to Ten Hag, you can't get rid of him. You can't sell him. You can't want him out. And then that's unfair on Ten Hag, really, because he really should have, at the end of the day, to say so, who he wants in the team or not. For me, he's had his thing now. For me, if he was at Arsenal, I wouldn't want him. We've had plenty of situations like this over the season where players have got lippy and, you know, done things like this. And what do Arsenal do? We get rid of them, you know, and in the long run, it betters you. And I think in the long run, this would better Manchester United. But if you're going to bring him back, slap him on the wrist, give him a few weeks' wages, it's going to happen again. And it ain't going to help Man United.
We've seen a similar thing happen at Chelsea, where you've got the longest servants of the club. They have a lot of power in the dressing room. Do you see a similar thing happen at the Man United? Do you see managers come in and out?
Yeah. I just feel like no matter who you bring in, you're just going to get, until these players are gone. You know, I mean, what players are still there? I mean, Rashford's one of the ones still there. Dallow's still there. I mean, Garth can rally him off better than me. He's probably, I mean, the new ones that are coming, they might not be happy with what's going on. You know, maybe Casemiro, Varane, they look like they got a little bit of the ump. Do you know what I mean? There was the way that De Gea was dealt with. You know, that, you know, most Man United are saying that wasn't dealt with the right way. Kevin was the one who just said, like, earlier on that, you know, maybe like the players that are still there, you know, don't like the way they talked when Sancho went. They didn't like the way, you know, De Gea went. It's such a difficult balance and what you want to do. But for me, ideally, I think you just got to get rid of these players. Why do you want... It's going to happen again with Rashford. It's going to happen again. It will happen again. Even if he went next season and scored 20 goals or 10 goals or 15 goals, the next season he'll be out on the piss again because he does it all the time. We say about Sancho, how he gets a chance and another chance. Well, it's the same with Marcus Rashford. He goes out, he gets drunk, goes to a club, they get warning, they slap his wrist. He goes out, he comes in, he makes out, he pulls a sickie, he lies. You know, because he's been out and he does it again. Come on, how many chances do you want to give these players, right? They're on 300. It's a 350,000 week, probably the biggest club in world football, and he's taking the piss. So for me, I don't like players like that. I'm sure Man United fans or any fan don't like players like that. Ideally, gone. But like Garth said, just ain't that easy to do that.
Garth, what's the next? What do you do next? You got
what? Sorry, God, with Rashford. Sorry.
Well, we'll start with Rashford. What do you do with Rashford?
I don't know. Sorry, I was listening to Steve, and honestly, mate, sometimes like your memory of things. Aubameyang got bare warnings. You said that Ten Hag did wrong by Sancho. Arteta did exactly the same with Aubameyang. Came out in the press and said why he wasn't in the Spurs game was because for disciplinary reasons. So you can't have it both ways. You can't say Ten Hag's done it wrong and then laud Arteta for doing exactly the same thing. He come out in the press after the North London derby saying disciplinary reasons was why Aubameyang.
I said, I didn't say that, Garth. I said you could argue whether he said he did it right with Sancho, he didn't, and if he did,
everyone else has said
and if
that
he went
well,
with
so
it, so I've not said.
And your dislike for Marcus Rashford is definitely colouring your opinion. He's got chance after chance. The thing after the Man City game, I've never understood that one. Like it was a day of, it was just bad optics because we'd lost and he went out. Like that doesn't bother me in the slightest. He hasn't had chance after chance after chance after chance.
I've watched enough football games, mate, since I've been watching football to know that he stinks and his attitude stinks. And Manchester United are one of the biggest clubs on the planet who want to get back to the top of world football. And having players like Marcus Rashford in the side is not what Manchester United need, and they should get rid of players like that. If they want to keep players like that, it's all great for teams like Arsenal.
And that's what I'm saying. That's all you can say. Players like that, his attitude stinks. You've got this opinion of Rashford.
I'm not the only one who said it. I'm not. Yeah, everyone says it.
You're the only one
Everybody.
here saying it at the moment, and I'm replying to what you said.
I'm not. It's
I'm
not
not
like
talking about what everyone's saying. I'm talking about what you said just now, and it's just wrong in my opinion. It's only
not according to most footballers.
It's only a year and a half ago that Marcus Rashford was being lauded as one of the greatest young professional sportsmen around.
Yeah, and I knew he weren't right then. I knew he weren't right then. I knew he was going to go and do something wrong, and he does.
This is exactly what I was saying. He
done
one thing wrong.
I knew
it's
it.
Weird to me.
If I can interject here for a minute.
I knew it. I knew he was going to go and do it again.
One at a time. Go on,
There's no way that Manchester United are going to get rid of Marcus Rashford because he is part of what the football club is about.
Yeah, again, I did say that.
No, I'm just saying there's no way that. Listen, I live in the city, and I live in the city, and United fans do think the world of him. They're disappointed in
more for them
at the moment. Of course, they are, but. I think if you had a vote tomorrow, which one was going to go, Ten Hag or Rashford? Ten Hag would be out all day long. In a strange way, maybe the whole Klopp situation puts a little bit. Listen, they brought in Omar Berardi and they brought in Ratcliffe and they brought in Rutherford. United are trying to put a team together where rash decisions aren't made. And certainly with Omar Berardi, I can guarantee you that they won't rush into decisions anymore. But maybe in a strange way, the fact that Klopp, we talked before, didn't we, about who's available at the moment, which coaches are out there. Maybe a little bit, unless Liverpool have already done their work, maybe a little bit Ten Hag might be on borrowed time. It would have been interesting to see what would have happened had United lost that game to Newport yesterday. Maybe Ten Hag is a little bit more under pressure at the moment because of what's happened at Liverpool. Because if there is a decent coach out there who might be available, United will not want to think they're missing out on him. So that might be a conversation that's currently been had. But as a general rule, I guarantee you, moving forward with this new operational team that's moving in at United, there won't be any more rash decisions. Players,
especially the
purchasing of players will be controlled better.
Yeah,
the appointment of managers, of managers will be controlled better. And so if United are trying to build a team to do that, the very last thing they're going to do is have a knee-jerk reaction to either get rid of a player or a manager. It's not going to happen anymore.
How many more managers?
Unfortunately, I do like the hire 'em and fire 'em when it's happening at United.
How many more managers have they got to get in, Kev, before they suss it out? It's not rocket science to see what's gone on there in the last 5 years. It really ain't. It's not.
No, but
really ain't rocket science, is it?
I think everybody thought when Ten Hag was appointed at United, that wasn't a bad appointment. To be fair,
no, I didn't. No,
I thought. Listen, I thought it was a good appointment.
I think we all did.
I did think to myself, United might start to do something now. Now, I don't suddenly think that because Ten Hag has not been successful as United, I don't suddenly think that he's not a good coach. It's more deep-rooted than that.
Players. You think it's the players? Is it the players?
Is it the players? Is a little bit rotten to the core.
Yeah, it is.
And so don't keep hiring and firing your manager if underneath all that.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
What's going on beneath all that is not right. There is going to have to be, and United fans will have to accept it, but I think they might do. All this theory about we want to play in the Champions League, we want to win this, we want to win that, that's going to have to take a little bit of a back foot.
Yeah,
United are going to have to reorganise. Now, that could happen between now and the summer to a certain extent. But United are going to have to completely reorganise because there are players there who need to be moved on. There are people behind the scenes who are not players, who are not managers, who are not coaches, who I promise you, and I hate saying this because people will say I'm saying this because of how successful he was. Fergie's office needs to be moved as far away as possible from the coach's office at Old Trafford. This whole Fergie sticking his nose in and having a say doesn't help. Ratcliffe, Brailsford, Barada, I guarantee you, hopefully later rather than sooner. But I can guarantee you they'll get it right.
Garth, what would be the first thing you would do if you're sitting in those offices, right? And what would be the first you said? What would be the first thing you would do? As like your first? Would it be players? Would it be
What,
managers?
sort out Man United?
Yeah. What would be the very first thing you would do? Would it be sort Rashford? Would it be get the player? Would it get the old players out? Would it be the manager? Would you get new? What would be the very first thing you would do?
I mean, this manager, like if I'm owner of Man United, the problem with manager is the way we're all talking at the moment. It's like Man United need discipline, and yet now everyone's like, he isn't right. He can't discipline players like that. He can't come out and say stuff about Sancho. He handled that wrong. So we've got a hard-nosed manager in there. That ain't working. Mourinho didn't work. You know what I mean? Van Gaal didn't work. The softy touch with Solskjaer didn't work. So I get what you're saying about the players. I just always think that you're talking about the wrong player. Personally, I would get out Casemiro. I'd get out Varane. Sell them to Saudi Arabia immediately. I would send Anthony to the chip shop where he belongs. He can't play football. So I would sell Sancho. Like I said, Sancho immediately. I would sell. This is what I mean about Rashford. There is a number of players in this team I'd get rid of long before.
Ability-wise, Garth.
Attitude-wise, Steve. Even attitude. I don't agree with you on the attitude thing. There's no point keep going down that road, mate. I don't agree with you. But so there'll be a number of players to get out first. Then it would be the coaches. It would be the next thing. And I don't mean like Ten Hag's assistants. I'm talking about what we're doing now, getting rid of this Berardi's like getting rid of the physiotherapy department who clearly can't do anything because we're always injured. Getting rid of the set piece people because we've got that new geezer in. We haven't scored a goal from a corner in about 15 years. So it's all of these things. And then I would have to start talking about the players' wages as well. I said this a while ago about Man United, and people didn't agree with me then. I said Man United need to take an Arsenal couple of seasons in 8th, European football, not worrying 100%. About. 100%. I mean, I said this on this show, and you all disagreed with me at the time. So,
no, mate, I've always it would 100% would never have been me who disagreed with you because
everyone on the show. You need the money, you need the Champions League money. You can't sign players, Steve. I have echoed. You said no. I have said with chest time and time again, you need to do what Arsenal. How many times I must have said that would be like, wow, literally. But when I said we need to do that. When I said we need to be out of Europe for a couple of years to reassess where we are, rebuild as a club, I was on this show, honestly, you and Kieran both said at the time, no, you can't do that because you need Champions League money. Otherwise, you won't be able to sign the players. You're Manchester United. It's different for you. You're not Arsenal. Yeah, but it's got worse, isn't it? But it's got worse. It's got worse. It's got worse since then. They don't. No, and so I that's where we start. That's what we've got to take a step back. I wouldn't sack the gaffer because who's out there? I don't think this is what I mean about when we talk about Liverpool. I don't think De Zerbi's a better manager than Ten Hag. I don't think Pochettino's a better manager than Ten Hag. They've just that Ten Hag's. I mean, Ten Hag walked in and took 3rd place and a cup last year. People seem to be forgetting this. It's a bad season at the moment, but he's dealing with the leaving of Ronaldo and having to deal with that. Mason Greenwood, Anthony's charges, Sancho, and now he's got more problems with Rashford having this. Every week, it's a different problem that he isn't on the football field. Do you know what? I think it's impossible. It's impossible. It's impossible to, we've chatted about it for nearly 45 minutes. And I think it's literally impossible to pin a point down where I think everybody's got a point is right in what they say about Manchester United because they're in such a rotten, in a mess.
Yeah, because it's a culmination of everything. It's not just
10 years. It's the manager, it's the players, it's the identity, it's behind the scenes. It's nobody's wrong here. And I think probably anything that they're saying, they're because there's so much. The one thing with Ten Hag, I thought he was the right man when he came in. Right, as time his signings ain't done him no favours. It's very difficult to see an identity with him. With the way he plays. I mean, you could say that they've gone backwards. I've heard all these because of last season they did quite well, like Garth said. But this season they're literally sort of digressing. They're not going forward. They look worse. So you wonder what sort of was that a one-off last season? Was going a little bit above their
No, we had a
stations?
very settled team last year. We had a very
Well,
settled
what's that?
team.
Well, this season's gone backwards. I mean, everyone knows that.
This is what I'm saying. We had a very settled team last year, and we've got 11 players that can play well under his system. Like this, I don't see a style of play. Like I see it online all the time. That's nonsense. He was brought in for his style of play, which is the counter-attacking, like fast, high-pressing football. But he hasn't got the boys to do it at the moment. When he's got his full team, you see it better. You do see it. When he's got Lisandro Martinez, who's so very important to his system, because he allows the fullback to move into the centre of the pitch. Massive loss for us this season. Now, I'm not one to blame injuries. There's also been some poor signings. But I believe it was one of you two that said to me, like, the only reason we got Anthony was because he was asking our scouts for signings, and they were like, mate, got no one for you. Like, I've got no one for you, mate. I'm an all-day
Garth, I know for a fact he could have had Kudus instead of Anthony. It was one or the other.
So Kudus ain't. Like, what do you think? Kudus comes into this Man United team and performs so much better and changes Man United's fortunes.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'd take Kudus over Anthony.
Yeah, but Anthony's the one player. And I'm saying Anthony hasn't worked. But last season, Anthony done more than Kudus has done this year.
Oh, you're joking me.
No, he did. He scored 8 goals and got
4 assists. And he's better than Anthony's been better than Kudus this year.
Last year, Kudus. This last year, Anthony did more.
This season, Anthony's been better.
Listen.
Last season's Anthony.
Yeah, last season's Anthony has done more last season. They've done more last season than Kudus done for West Ham. Kudus is all right, but he's where he belongs. Kudus is a mid-table player. Like, he's all right.
I'm baffled by that one, mate. Honestly,
no, I do think.
Would you take Kudus at Arsenal over Martinelli or Saka?
No, the reason why.
Well, to be fair, Martinelli and Saka is a different type of.
But they didn't sign him for a reason. They didn't sign him for a reason. And I suspect Man United didn't sign Kudus for a reason. Anthony was a terrible signing. I think he's one of the worst signings. He's
the worst signing in Premier League history, in my opinion.
Yeah, he's a terrible signing.
I've watched Kudus this season. I would love Kudus at Arsenal.
Yeah, I'm not sure that Kudus is going to make that much of a difference at Man
United. In fairness to
Mbappe will make much difference to Arsenal.
I don't particularly blame Ten Hag for the signing of Anthony. He's a coach who went out there and thought, well, okay,
yeah,
I know a little bit about Anthony. You know, there should have been somebody else at Manchester United who said, listen, we're going to pay 50 million, or whatever the figure is. We're going to pay 50 million for him, no more than that.
That's it.
Once we get to 50 million, we're walking away.
Yeah.
There is nobody at Manchester United, and it's happened. You listen, City have done it for years and years. We walk away. We talked about Rice the other week, and listen, I think Rice is an excellent footballer, but if Manchester City have a value on a footballer, they walk away. They've done it with lots of players. They've done it with
Maguire.
Players who have gone to. They did it with Fred. They did it with Sanchez. Yeah. And listen, it's a shame because if the coach desperately wants a player, but there does have to be somebody away from the coach, something with some commercial knowledge. That
they didn't have any, Kev. They didn't even have a sporting director at the side.
Say, before negotiations start, by the way, that sit down. We saw it a little bit in the Amazon program with City when they went on to win the league, and they were talking about signing Virgil van Dijk. And before they'd made a bid for Virgil van Dijk, City in the boardroom were talking about Virgil van Dijk and the amount of money that they were willing. This is before the process had started.
Mm-hmm.
The amount of money that they were willing to pay for Virgil van Dijk, and City said, right. They didn't mention in the program, but you could hear them saying that's our limit. If it goes beyond that, we'll go to our option number 2. And once Virgil van Dijk went beyond whatever the figure was, 60 million, City went and signed Laporte. So you have to have the cojones within a football club, despite no matter how good the manager might think. And listen, this is Eric Ten Hag. He would have moved on from it. It's not Mourinho. If Mourinho wanted a player and United said we're not paying that money, he'd have seen his wanted, wouldn't he?
Well, that's what happened. That's what happened.
I would have said, okay, I understand it. He'd have sat in front of the board, and the board would have said, listen, Eric, this is our reasoning for it. So let's go out and find choice number 3. The problem is, and you just alluded to it there, I think, Garth, he was left with one option. He didn't have 4 options.
He's not got the people around him to succeed.
He was option number 2.
United have the same situation. That's why I think if they do get a new coach, they need to bring in.
Case of, if you don't get Anthony, we're not getting anybody who we might as well pay whatever we paid for him.
I think he wanted Anthony, didn't he? He wanted Anthony, didn't he?
Unfortunately, it's not going to be tomorrow, by the way, and it's probably not going to be in the next 2 seasons. That is definitely going to change.
Yeah, I think
change the backroom staff. Sorry, kid. That's what I mean. Well, you asked me, Steve. Change the backroom staff to begin with. The people to help Ten Hag. Can't sack another gaffer. As much as I said to Kid the other day, he's out after 2 or 0.
Seriously, who's out there who's going to replace him?
Exactly.
Yeah, I think I wouldn't be surprised if Ten Hag would want to probably thinking I've had enough.
No,
he's had so. If you're a man, if I'm at that manager,
can't get any worse for him, can it? That's what he'll be thinking.
It'd be like, oh, you don't know, do you? This seems to be
delighted. He'll be delighted that Ratcliffe has come in, that Barada's come in, that Brailsford has come in. He'll be delighted about that because they are people that are in there to take the pressure off him and allow him to do the one thing that United have employed him to do, which is to be their coach.
Yeah, I think if Man United do get rid of Ten Hag, they need to get in someone who's going to go in there and, as Kevin said, have the cojones to turn around to the board and say this needs doing, this needs doing, this needs changing. Otherwise, it's just going to be a massive merry-go-round.
But I do think they've got the board now that listen. But that Barada, I rate him very, very highly. He's not a one-man show, and City will replace him. But they do seem to be building a board that, with the experience of Ratcliffe, who's run a multi-billion-pound business, they do seem to be able to build a board that will know how to run Manchester United Football Club.
He's about the best thing that's happened in the last season or two is that, you know, that the fact now that they've got a sporting director in and now they can maybe change their way of doing things, and because nothing on the pitch is really going to change at the moment.
As long as United fans don't think it's going to happen overnight, they'll be all right.
It's not going to, no.
I'm sure they have to think they've got a bit more realism now. It's been 10 years, 12 years, whatever it's been. It must have settled in. It must. It's surely settled in.
I said that about Ten Hag, didn't I, kid? When we first signed him, I said, listen, I don't want to be hearing, like, I know yesterday after the Liverpool game, I don't want to be hearing Ten Hag out after 3 years because 2-3 years because he needs time. He's got to get rid of this one. There's so much going on that he has to deal with outside the team. So
I mean, I don't feel sorry for him because he's coach of Manchester United. But actually,
that's how bad it's got.
The job that he went into Manchester United to do, in reality, hasn't even started yet.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's still learning. It's still learning as well. Look, it's not easy to come from the Eredivisie and then come straight into the Premier League and all of a sudden be, you know, a top manager. It's not. It's hard, and it's even harder when you're having to deal with the players that are at Man United at the moment.
Now you know how good Pep Guardiola was when he went from Barcelona B coach to winning 6 trophies in his first season. Never
It's easy when you got Messi, mate. Come on.
It's easy when you got the cheat code.
It's easy when you got a ready-made coach, Kev, and you come into your club.
How old do you think he was, Messi, when Pep brought him into that team?
No, I'm playing. Pep's one of the greatest managers of all time, Kev. I was just playing, mate, honestly. So
you got it right. You got it right.
Listen, I'm blessed. If nothing happens from here on in.
Yeah, and we're probably not going to get times going, but Arteta's going nowhere.
We are not going to go.
Can we just leave it?
That is the best news on which to end the show.
And I'll give you that number at the end of the show, Kev. All right.
If Barcelona come knocking, he's gone. There's no two ways about it, and that happens to almost any. It's only because Arsenal. Barcelona right now could not afford me as their manager until they pull another lever, mate. Until they pull another lever.
It could be another lever 10, and it'd be lever 10 by then.
A compensation fee that they would have to pay to get Mikel Arteta out of their contracts, and they can't afford it. That's what. It's all rubbish anyway. It come from.
He's only got what year and a half left.
That was where.
How much can it possibly be?
No, I think he's just signed a new contract, hasn't he?
No, he ain't signed it yet. 2025 his contract ends, isn't it, Arteta? The compensation fee can't be. So that's a season's worth of money for him. Whatever he's on, Barcelona got Barcelona.
It can't be that expensive for a coach who's won nothing, can it?
He's still at Arsenal. He's still going to be one of the most highly paid managers in Europe. Arsenal.
Dead
Arsenal
silence
paid
to
a
that
fee.
one.
No, I mean, it was
Arteta
like
will be one of the highest paid managers in Europe, 100%.
basically not they
maybe.
Barcelona's sort of pool of managers who are going to want to manage Barcelona right now is literally nil, and that's why they're putting out rumours. They're getting their, you know, the famous Barcelona newspaper Sport who broke the news apparently that Arteta's leaving. It's all, you know, propaganda to try and get things up and say, oh, look who's interested in coming to Barcelona. Simple fact is, you're getting it wrong, lads. Nobody's interested in going Barcelona because it's a poison chalice and they can't afford me as their manager. So
Barcelona are they've got a solid foundation, but they need a lot of work.
They're looking at like managers who's been in their academy and things like that. You know,
I think the problem with Barcelona is they've like you said, one, it's a poison challenge, and two, they've got Real Madrid in the league, and there's no let up. There's no you've got to come in. You're going to give you time to sort of get used to the team and then take on Real Madrid. You have to go and smash the league, and you've got to go and win the Champions League as well. Javi's just won the league. The following season, he got the sack. I mean, who's taking that job? It's big.
And De Jong's coming to Arsenal next season anyway. There'll be another player we nick off Man United.
I saw rumours of Man United again.
Oh, please! I don't know
that one out.
Listen, the day that Arsenal pay more than like 350 grand a week for a player is the day that football's over. It's never happening. You're not paying 500 grand a week for Frankie.
You're right. You're right. You're not wrong.
Arteta's on quite a small amount, like compared to the rest of the top managers. On 8 mil a year, like Klopp's on 18 a year.
That's
Klopp. I'm just saying, like Barcelona could eat like this. Arsenal fans' delusion that Barcelona couldn't come and take your gaffer like that is amazing to me. It's Barcelona.
I'm not biting Garth.
No, they're not.
It's Barcelona.
They can't afford it.
They can try and take him, but he's not going anywhere. They can try and take him.
Why would he want to go to? You know, why would he
I thought you said he's not won anything. So why would they want him anyway?
Yeah, and Barcelona's a dead club anyway, just like Chelsea. Dead club. Dead club.
Why would they want Arteta?
I thought you boys weren't fighting.
Arsenal's team in the future, mate.
I'm responding.
Team in the future. Arteta's the new Pep. The new Pep Guardiola. I'm waiting. Don't worry about that.
I've had enough of him. Get him out of here. Get him out of here.
You know, honestly, hear someone say he's the new Pep.
New Pep.
Honestly say that.
Oh, God.
New Pep. Yeah, what's all this about Lego head and all that? He's new Pep. I'm waiting. That's why Klopp's gone. Klopp's left because he knows Arteta's coming.
He saw into the future.
Exactly. Pep be next. Pep will be the end of the season.
All I'm going to say is when Ten Hag come in, he said, when he was asked about Klopp and Guardiola, he said, era's end. We've got rid of, he's seen out Klopp. Let's hope some of these charges come in because Guardiola, let's see if he's a man of his word, said he would quit if Man City were found guilty on one charge. Let's hope they won it, and then he's gone as well. And Ten Hag's seen them both out then.
They'll be all right, Man City. They won't be nothing.
All we have time for tonight. Thank you very much, everyone who's joined us in the comment section. And thank you very much for everyone here tonight as well. Big discussions on Klopp and Ten Hag. Didn't even get to the Arteta bit. That's all right. As we know, that news is rubbish. He would never go to Barcelona. Never.
And just before we go now, look, it's time for the business end of the season now. So, yeah.
So Man City to what, win the league?
The same old story again.
No, some teams. Well, I hope so. We hope so because it'd be if they don't. They should win
into a farmers' league. It's Man City's fault. It's a farmers' league. We're like France now. You know,
might as well be Celtic.
One thing I will say now. I mean, it'd be an absolute. If Man City don't win the league, which they should. I mean, if they don't, it'd be an absolute failure of a season. So no pressure, Kev. No pressure.
Here he goes. The bait is out. All right, on that
pressure's not going to work on us. I know you're on bottom bit last season, Steve, but that's not going to work on us.
It doesn't work. They are cold-blooded animals. All right, on that note, thank you for joining us tonight. Peace out, stay safe, and wash your hands.